this is where the readers are. They're knitting and they're gardening and they're baking bread. And I don't do any of that. I just write about writing. So you can
Yeah.
only change so much about yourself without feeling like a total fake. And I'm just not going to start faking being a bread baker just to sell books. Hi, my name is Courtney Maum, and I am the author of almost 6 books. Alan Opts Out is coming out this summer, and most notably, Before and After the Book Deal, a guidebook to how to stay sane in the publishing industry while you're trying to promote your art.
All right, let's do the lightning round. When did you first identify as a writer?
6 years old.
What were you doing at 6?
Mrs. Vici Domini came into our class and for an art project taught us how to use, at the time, honestly, I think it was Laura Ashley wallpaper, cardboard, and to make our own books. And we were supposed to just do one. And I, went home, and by the end of the week, I think I'd brought in 7. And then I'd added all these about the author sections to the back, because I noticed that Mrs. Vici Domini had not invited us to, include our intellectual property. And so I think I came out the gate kind of hot. And
you really did. Wow.
Yeah. And so I still have them behind me, actually, these little books. They're all about horses and Pegasus or Pegasi or whatever. But yeah, they have these ridiculous about the author sections on the back where I don't have much to report.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was pretty early.
What's your all-time favorite book?
Oh man, the impossible question.
A favorite.
I think a book I was thinking about today, maybe because it's November and where I live, it's so depressing, is Wolf in White Van by John Darnell. I think he's an exquisite writer. His books are not uplifting, but Wolf in White Van, it's a slim book. I hope it won the National Book Award, but it's from the point of view of someone who's a shut-in. It's a spoiler, so I won't give away why, but he's also a really respected head of Dungeons and Dragons leader. So it's this beautiful book about John Darnell just in general. All of his books have to do with the loneliness of the digital culture that we're in, but then he finds ways that even within the gaming industry, because this narrator identifies as being within the gaming industry, even though it's analog, just exquisite points of
so interesting.
Human connection. And there's some stuff that gets this man, forces him out of his house. And it's a really challenging book to read emotionally, but it's just so exquisite and so original.
Awesome.
And I love that book, Wolf in White Van.
What's your dream writing routine?
Well, it's pretty much what I have when things go well for me. Things have not been going well for me this fall, unfortunately. But before there was a cosmic tear in my universe, I had it pretty good. I mean, I'm fully self-employed at this point. Worked hard to get there. So basically, I'm an early riser, which works well because I have a child who gets up at 5:30. She's a tween, so she has to put on her mascara and look cute before school. The bus comes early. So basically, dream writing routine, I'm at the desk, somewhere between 7 and 8, and more or less write until lunch. And then by that point, I have nothing left, and I actually I'm a horse girl, not ashamed to admit it, and try to do horse stuff in the afternoon. But that's perfect days like that. I get about 2 days a week. I don't write every day. I have so many other things I have to do, but I do, except for when I have this cosmic tear in my universe that I have now, I do that religiously Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays and Tuesdays, sometimes I even put up an out of office. Try to turn off my phone. It's hard with the kid, and I exclusively do my own writing on Monday and Tuesday mornings religiously, and that usually sets me up for a lot of success, honestly, and then I can return to all the BS of a person with an email inbox for the rest of the week.
Totally. What's one piece of writing that makes you jealous you didn't write it?
Oh God. I mean, I worked kind of hard to get rid of jealousy.
I mean it in a positive way.
Yeah.
In an admiration.
No, of course. Oh, I know what it is. I've got the answer.
Yes,
can I swear?
Go.
Okay. It's motherfucking Gourd Season by Colin
That is such a good
Nisan.
piece.
That humor piece, I wish I were responsible for it. Yeah.
Okay. I totally get that. Okay. Really excited to dive into the publishing discussion. Give us the Cliff's Notes of your journey.
Oh, Lord. Cliff Notes. Okay. Always wanted to be a writer because I was a huge reader. Did not really clock that there was this sort of well-traveled path that I was supposed to be taking. So sort of DIY'd it. I went to a kind of a fancy prep school.
Oh,
I was
nice.
really lucky to have beautiful teachers there who encouraged my writing. But I never professionalized it. Like I went to college, but I majored in translation, mostly French translation, did not study creative writing, did not go for an MFA, didn't do the workshops, like didn't do all of that. I just kept reading and then writing all the time. I wrote a lot for magazines and basically, out of college for 25 years, I was a professional copywriter and a corporate namer, which is how I supported myself. Doing magazine pieces, but, spoiler alert, that doesn't
even then
get you to the grocery store. Even then, so worked in advertising and marketing. And then I got an agent really early in my 20s. At that point, I lived in France all of my 20s, hence the French translation thing, and got an agent really quickly just from sending queries via my Hotmail. I had no connections, none. I had no friends that were writers, nothing. Was not in that world at all. If you talk to me about Iowa, I was like, cool, yeah, it's a state.
Like, why would you want to go
I just
there?
had none of the references. And we got an editor interested at Doubleday really quickly. And long story short, it looked like I was going to be doing the thing, have a big book out right away, early out the gate in my early 20s, and everything fell apart. And that book that I thought was coming out when I was 24 came out 10 years later with my third literary agent when I was 34. And I have stuck with Rebecca, my third agent, forever agent, for every single book since. Basically, until my first book came out, and I really thought that I was someone that would have a published novel much earlier than I did. So I really started, once I got past the heartbreak of my first book deal falling apart, which honestly this is why I'm like, I really worked hard to get past jealousy, because I really did. I had to leave New York City. I had moved to New York City. I just couldn't handle it. I'd been very fortunate, like hardworking student. So things that I really was like, you work hard, you work really, really hard, and you try to be a good person and a good kind of team player, and things will happen for you. And in fact, publishing doesn't really work like that. So up until I'd say about 4 years, maybe before that book finally came out, that was when I realized, like, cool, okay, I don't have any friends. Every single industry in this country, you need friends to get places. So
how did you find the first agent? Like after the fall apart, how did you go? What happened next? How did you finally get the agent and the book out in the world?
The good agent?
Well, the stepping stone agent.
Oh, okay. I found her in my Facebook spam messages.
Oh, she came to you.
It was just at that point I was doing a lot of reading series and storytelling stuff, and I was publishing a lot. This was part of how I started getting into the world and making friends. I had taken a marketing job where I had to be based half of the week in New York City. So I returned, and I was actually looking for a message from not a good ex-boyfriend of mine who had become sober, and I was trying to show a girlfriend this crazy ass email he'd sent me as part of the apologizing thing, but it was in my spam because I deleted whatever. And I went in there and I found all these I found a message from this like hotshot agent that we didn't have friends in common. So it had been sitting in my Facebook spam thing for 8 months. She'd asked to have lunch with me.
That's amazing.
So that's how I found
And then
her.
how did you guys work together to get the book out into the world?
Well, that's a very funny story because at that point I had a second agent and I was working on a book, a completely different novel that agent had signed me for. I mean, that first book, which ended up being I'm Having So Much Fun Here Without You, it had been in a drawer for 10 years. I was never opening that drawer again. This book was really problematic for me. And so this new agent, Rebecca, I fired the second agent for Rebecca. And pretty much as soon as we agreed to work together, she was like, okay, so this is not the book that we debut you with. Speaking about this other weird novel I had, she said, it's too niche. It involved John Mayer. Long story. And she's like, it's funny. It has what seems like hallmarks of your writing style, but it's just too weird. And then you'll only have to do weird things after that. So she's like, I know writers and I bet you have novels in a drawer. So she forced me to take this book out of the drawer and send it to her. And then she was like, this is your debut. You have to completely rewrite it, but this is your debut. And I had just found out that I was 2 months pregnant. I thought I had Lyme disease, but it turned out I was pregnant. And I was already 2 months along. And I was like, well, shit. If we're going to do this, I have a real timeline here. And I rewrote that book, frankly, numerous times. And we sent it out on submission and managed to sell it all before the baby came.
Amazing. Who was the publisher for that one?
Simon & Schuster, with Sally Kim, who has since become just a super powerhouse editor. And I've done all my commercial novels with her.
I feel like if my memory serves me, like you had your debuted. Like
it was a big book. I was so lucky because first of all, I literally had no idea what to expect because at that time I had managed to make a lot of writer friends in New York, kind of crusty East Village scene. People were doing zines. So the thing is, I wasn't hanging out with bestsellers, right? I was hanging out with a super highfalutin literary crowd. So none of us had broken out yet. So the only examples I had were kind of books I was reading at the time. Like you go into whatever bookstore and you see all the new releases. I always assumed, well, if a book's a new release, they put it on the table, right? Fast forward to however much longer later, I discovered, no, your publisher has to pay these people to have it on the, and this is why I ended up writing before and after the book deal. So I was like, I only have two ranges of expectation. And one involves draft beer and 99-cent pieces of pizza, or like Jonathan Franzen. I don't know. I just didn't have examples for how else this would work. So when I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, because I got so lucky with that book. And I didn't always know that I was lucky until later, because I was toured nationally, I think twice, old school tour in an airplane, hotel paid for by the publisher. I had a driver.
That's incredible.
And and my agent kept being like my very first book event I remember was in Chicago, and they put me up in the Four Seasons, and I arrived and they had reproduced my book out of white chocolate. And it was sitting on my bed. And of course I felt like so happy and stuff. But I was kind of also thinking, well, this is what it is, I guess, to publish at the Big Five. And meanwhile, my beloved agent's telling me take those photos down off of the social media. You can't, this is not normal. We got, oh God, these were the old days, magazines existed. We got all the coverage.
Did you feel like you needed to be a partner in that, or they
totally? Oh,
but God, I mean, did
you
know how to? I'm sure you know how to promote a book totally different now, right?
Well, I knew how because I'd had a lot of, I'd worked in marketing and advertising, but I'd also done a lot of events management, and so it was very much in my kind of wheelhouse, or just my spirit to want to collaborate. And coming from marketing, I'm just used to working in teams to make a product work. So I was like, left the art witch inside of me and was like, okay, now we're launching a product, and the product is my book. And so, but everything went right with that book. And then everything went so right, in fact, that, I get this call from my agent. The book had only been out 2 weeks, but it had been doing so well. She was like, okay, we got to sell them something else. And I was like, do they want my John Mayer book? She's like, no, they don't. What else do you have? And we kind of like wrote a couple chapters. They gave me a bunch of money. I was like, what is this crazy world, right? And so then when that second book, which would be Touch, was coming out, I was like, cool, so it'll all happen the same way again. And here's where things get interesting. It did start to happen the same way again. We had such amazing coverage. Again, this is prior to
collapse of everything.
Oh, everything. But then it did collapse because Trump was elected and my book came out. Trump was elected, so I'm going to scare quote that, the first time. My book came out in early 2017, right? So, so then I got to feel like what it is to have a book that's supposed to be like a crazy bestseller, and they really invested in it for be a bestseller, and we got all the things, and it still underperformed. And that was, I'd been so fortunate with the first book that I hadn't quite left room in my psyche for that. And that began what would effectively be a pretty long time out from publishing with I say time out as if it's my choice. I've been really lucky to have kind of a polyamorous relationship with my publishers. But that I found that I had a hard time with it. I'm a perfectionist and a real Virgo. And I was like, okay, I was so focused on this book doing well and hitting all the things we got with my first book that my little art witch, the book I think is great. It's a great book, but I'd started to expect these things, expected things to happen in the market. And that felt icky, it felt icky. And I thought, I gotta nourish my art witch. What happened to her? And so then, I did 3 books, with indie publishers, 2 with Tin House and 1 with Catapult, which is the before and after the book deal, and kind of went back to.
What were the 2 with Tin House?
So the first one is Costa Alegre, which is a historical, pretty experimental historical fiction with illustrations and like all kinds of things that the gatekeepers don't want to see you do in adult literary fiction. And then my memoir, The Year of the Horses. Yeah, so I spent, I guess the last 6 years, maybe 7 years, just doing the art first.
But you found success with this, I feel like this sold really well. And both of the other books you just mentioned also got a lot of press, and
they did. Yeah. I've been really lucky that I have, number one, I just have been so lucky with my I effectively have only 2 editors, really. Maisie Cochran at Tin House and Sally Kim at, she moves around a bit, but because my Catapult editor left before the book even came out. Julie Bunton, though, she's amazing. So just like old school, beautiful relationships with these editors where we speak on the phone and spend time in person. And I've just been really lucky with the team. I've always been given an in-house publicist, which is just not a given anymore. I've been really, really lucky. I think partly that's also because I've always shown them that if they invest in me, and I'm not talking just financially, but if they invest time and thought in me, I will give it back. That I'm going to work harder, just hard, right?
You're also like a super capable partner. So like in terms of promoting the book, because you're right, the media landscape totally changed in like the 10 years.
Yes, so much.
So how do you approach launching a book differently, on these later books than you did in the beginning?
Yeah, God, you tell me, because now I've gone back to the Big 5. And so I have a Big 5 lead title book coming out summer of 2026. And I'm like, oh God, okay, how do we do this? So I think effectively what I've chosen to do is aim for the long game and just say to myself, I am someone that likes to challenge myself. I'm going to keep trying new genres and formats and structures and all of that. Thank goodness I have an agent who's become like a family member who's going to, she said she'd follow me into everything except children's literature. So I've got these wonderful partnerships set up, and I just have to wait long enough that the readers stick with me or discover a book that brings them to my past books and stick with me long enough that they realize that while Costa Alegre might seem quite different in scope and tonality than Touch or my first book, that they're always going to find the same DNA in all of my projects, which ultimately are about trying to make art in very, very capitalist America. That's really the thing that ties all my work together. And so, yeah, it's sort of, I mean, I'm not going to compare myself to Beyonce, right? But certainly this is someone who's gotten herself to a place where whether she's putting out a Western album or old school soul album or whatever it is, people will follow her to that project. And so I actually do kind of look up to filmmakers just outside of my own industry, filmmakers and musicians, where I think, how are they doing this? How are they getting their audience? Oh, this is the new, what's his name? Anderson film, or Quentin Tarantino or whatever it's going to be. Sorry, I'm mentioning a lot of men. Chloe Zhao. It's going to be, that DNA stamp is going to be there. It might not be my favorite insert name project, right? But yeah, so I've just kind of kept my confidence up by looking at those out of industry examples. And it started to work for me. I think before and after the book deal was really the book where it was so funny because that book, gatekeepers told me not to do it. Even my own agent told me, don't publish this. There'll be so much blowback.
Was there?
No, none of the gatekeepers, no. Opposite. I had hopes for that book. Like I really thought that people who had already published would pick it up and read it to just feel like, oh God, someone understands. The gatekeepers told me, not only don't do this, but you're crazy. No, people who have already published are going to pick up a book about publishing, which it turned out to be, I was right. Hooray. That doesn't happen all the time. That book was, it's funny, right? Because even though it was like the lowest advance I've ever received and that I hope to ever be offered again. I mean, they originally offered $4,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, walk yourself home. That's really, but we didn't get all that much higher. Surprise, surprise, you can't live off that because it's paid in multiple installments and 15% goes, right? You're following me. So
yes,
it's funny because in terms of advances, it's been my lowest advance, ended up being just the career-making book for me because it's really what, I hate to use the P word, platform, but that is what I feel like I'm here to do, which is to write. I want to walk the walk and talk the talk. I'm going to keep writing books, but I really, really, truly, it matters to me to help other writers and people who have already published to just hold on to their mental health, to talk more about this is a really opaque and elitist and confusing industry. And it's also really confusing and opaque and difficult to make art. So how do you do this and not lose your mind and not give up? And in any case, back to your earlier question about how the heck do you do things now when you're promoting books in the last 10 years where the landscape is it's like the road, it's like Cormac McCarthy's The Road out there in terms of media coverage for books. I ultimately got on the newsletter thing at the right time. I started off on MailChimp. I built up a respectable following there. And then it was my agent who, I don't know if at this point, maybe it was 4 years ago or something. She's like, I need you on Substack. I think you should be on Substack. Bring your MailChimp people. And I did that. And I was there, doing regular work. an appropriate amount of time, maybe 2 years before it became, I mean, I don't want to scare people off by saying oversaturated, but it's very crowded, right? It's very crowded on Substack, particularly. So now, I mean, I think I'll have my 6th book coming out this summer, hopefully, if the world doesn't implode, right? And if it does, I'm going to start printing it on little pamphlets because it's a good book. I want people to read it. But at this point, it's funny because we're talking in November and they're definitely, my publisher's starting to ask me, what's the plan? What's the campaign? And I keep looking at everything and I'm like, I guess it's me. I don't really see anything but me and my Substack, but also just me going out and talking to people. And that's what it all comes back to. Because even the personal essay tour of duty is what I call it, that used to work, 2 months before publication, you start placing, if you can, all these essays, a little cosmology of essays. Well, where are we placing them? Right? Every week, unfortunately, there's more news. I mean, we just lost Teen Vogue, which I really love Teen Vogue. So, well, then it's the same thing. Where am I putting the essays? On my Substack, right? So, I mean, again, I'm very fortunate because I do have a Substack and I have a lot of followers, and that could change at any moment. That's the other thing is I'm just always waiting for the other shoe to drop. But the email list. Yeah.
I mean, that's valuable. And okay, because this is interesting. This sort of applies to me too, but they always say you're not promoting to other writers. You're just promoting to readers. And that is true for some authors. But if you also teach, the writers that you teach can be I think my theory is some of your best evangelists. Do you find that to be true? And was that like an organic platform process for you?
I find that to be true. But the thing, I just had this conversation with my publishing team this week because I'm trying to think of pre-order campaigns. And my agent keeps telling me, you don't forget just like regular people, the readers, you can't have your audience just be writers. And I'm like, that's fine. But here's some of the issues with the fact that, yes, I have a very large following, but a lot of them are in the literary world. In the literary world, the high-placed people get your book for free, right? They get the advanced copies. They get, the galleys and whatever that is called on net galley, whatever it is. And so they're not always, they could be big advocates and wonderful friends, but your high-placed literary friends are not always going to be your pre-orders, right? And honestly, if people are listening to this and they're like, okay, well, what advice does this chick have? My advice is to knit. I am not a knitter, but my freaking friends who are writers, regardless of genre, who also knit, holy crap.
What do you mean? Just the community
is so dedicated. Like the knitting community is, excuse they're interwoven. It just really seem to support each other, and they're readers and they're cookers. And it's this cozy world that I wish this is like a regret. I just can't I keep trying because I live in the middle of nowhere. It's dark at 4:30 p.m. I live in the woods. I should be knitting, but I can't garden and I can't knit. And so this is where the readers are. They're knitting and they're gardening and they're baking bread. And I don't do any of that. I just write about writing. So you can only change so much about yourself without feeling like a total fake. And I'm just not going to start faking being a bread baker just to sell books. But I do think the cult of personality thing, if you're selling a book and your platforms, not necessarily, it might be based more on like your content or the way you look or the way you dress. It does seem that food and kind of lifestyle, all that stuff comes together in a way that's great. That's not me. My house is a mess. I don't like filming myself, all that stuff. Like it's my private life. Like I have enough of myself out there. I don't want to start filming myself doing my private life stuff, because then what's left? What's left to be private?
You show up on social media though, or are you just kind of like, I don't, I don't.
I'm on it.
I put a ton of energy into it.
Well, I don't like editing. I won't edit. So I edit my words, but I'm just such a reluctant cell phone user. You know, I have a smartphone. I have to have a smartphone. But when it asked me to upgrade, I refused to. The camera's crap. I don't even know what year this phone is. And I don't want to do fancy videos. I have no time. I have no free time already. And so I don't want to dedicate it to like editing videos to make myself look cute. So what? So that I can get more
Your face
DMs,
is so good right now.
Get more DMs from like freaky people. I get more dick pics. No, thank you. You know, like also, what are we all working for? Because I really believe that you rarely, unless you're Billie Eilish or Taylor, some huge celeb, you're not going to get more than 1,200 diehard people. You're just not going to. I have 10,000 followers on Instagram. I have 40,000 in my Substack, and it's still 1,200. Yeah. They say 1,000 real fans. I think you can get to 1,200, but like, I feel that I have those people. I'm in pretty regular contact with them, and I'm not going to get more if I start making dance videos in a field, you know? So like, I'm getting tired too. I'm almost 50. Enough's enough, you know? It's just not
amazing.
I just can't. I'm looking at my friends my age who have taken courses to learn how to be like a book talk person, and it's working, you know, it's really working. They're getting a lot of people. I think they're going to make big lists, and they're going to get, their shit looks so professional and tight. But I'm like, well, now you're screwed because you're last on your grid. It all looks so good. So now you can never not look good again. You can't have anything on. And my Instagram, I really use as, I don't know, there's like, it's not very good visually.
But isn't that what the kids like these days?
Oh, yeah, is it? I don't know.
It's authentic. Okay. Just like today, we're showing up and not like a full face, and that's okay. So you wrote before and after the book deal, and it was like, I remember reading it in 2020 when it came out.
Yes.
And
it was a pandemic release.
Yes. But like every other writer I knew was also reading it.
It was really exciting. And
so, but it's changed. I feel like, I mean, there's evergreen advice in this book. Yeah. And also, I mean, I feel like self-publishing is more of a thing.
Yes.
There's all these new AI has entered the chat. There's like all these Substack is a way bigger thing, as you mentioned. So like, what are the big things that you feel like have changed since you wrote the book?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And it's one that, you know, from time to time, the topic of putting out a freshened up version of the book has obviously come up, but, it's a tricky thing because it takes so long to publish a book, even a new version of a book, that by the time it's out, there'll be all new stuff. So that's one of the reasons I created the Substack, is to keep up with things in a more timely manner. But I think, guess the top maybe four things that have changed are number one, it's just absolutely the norm now that publishers, really kind of regardless of what level you're publishing at, are just expecting the author to do almost everything, whether it's marketing, events management, putting your own tour together, the branding and social media, the copywriting. Like, even though they have departments for these things, you know, they're going to come to you and say, well, yeah, we have a social media team, but what's your social media campaign going to be? So that's challenging, because I think before and after the book deal it was written from a place that's like, you're going to have to do a lot. You're going to be asked to do more than you're comfortable with. But we weren't quite at the place of like, you're going to be expected to, that we're all, which I push back against a lot. So hopefully there'll be a rebalancing. We have the newsletters, you know, online newslettering or blogging or whatever you want to call it, is a real pressure point, meaning that the editors and agents will pressure their clients to be on these places. That wasn't the case when, I mean, you know, I was writing the book in 2017 and 18, and then it came out in 2020. So, you know, a lot of time has gone by. And then the prevalence of just the push and pressure for nonfiction and memoir writers to have a full proposal and like a full manuscript is absolutely bonkers. And the impetus on having proposals, you know, if I redo the book, I mean, I have online classes that teach you how to write a proposal, but I'd probably put more about the pros and cons of proposals in there. I would have put more about developmental now. If I refresh the book now, I would put more about developmental editors and coaches, because there's some great people out there, but you're going to have to go through a thorny brush of imposters to get to the right people. And in fact, I don't do a lot of coaching right now at this moment, but most people, I'd say of every 10 clients I have, 8 come to me because they've spent a pretty obscene amount of money on someone who wrecked their manuscript or had them change it in a way that was for the other person's aesthetics. So I would write a lot more about developmental editors, and you know, I write about that online, but, and then the AI thing is just so heartbreaking. I definitely, in 2018, didn't think I'd be having to write about artificial intelligence taking over the world, but here we are. Yeah. So there would be a hefty section, especially legally, about, protecting your IP. Yeah. I mean, a lot. It's funny though, like so much has changed, and yet nothing's changed. You know, like I'm still hearing the same as I prepare for my own fresh book launch. I'm not hearing a lot of new ideas that are new and different and out of the box from when I was having these conversations in 2013, right? The approach to outreach and stuff seems to be the same. Books are for the moment still solid objects. I mean, they can be online, right? And thank God we still have bookstores where, you know, the books are on shelves and they can only take so many books. So how do you get the bookstore to care about your book? And then ultimately, really, none of this matters except for the book buyer, or the eternal question of how do you write a book that is going to connect with someone that you don't know. They don't know you and they don't follow you online, but for some reason the book connects with them. And that question was there 100 years ago, and it's still here now, right? The fundamentals of crafting a really good story that will resonate across many divides, that has not changed. And of course, that's a $1 million question.
Such a good answer. Thank you so much. Just some final, before we go into the lightning round, thoughts about small presses, hybrid, self-publishing. Like, do you feel like those are more viable options than
the cool thing is, given this sometimes very challenging era in which we're all living, the good thing is that from your computer, from your own home, you have every possible channel through which to tell your story without needing tons of money if you decide to take things into your own hands. So I've done everything but the hybrid route. Hybrid, in my definition, means pay to play. It means that you are plunking down some amount of money. My understanding right now is it starts around $10,000, and then it can be competitive. There's hybrid presses that are competitive about who they choose to publish, but you're still putting an upfront investment that you don't recoup in a traditional sense. So I have not done hybrid publishing, but I self-published a collection of short stories in my 20s after my traditional book deal fell apart. I loved that experience. I did a limited edition, 150 copies. I never printed more than that. I went with Troy Bookmakers. They still exist in Albany. Well, it's Troy, New York, but it's near Albany. They're freaking awesome. They work with a lot of local bookstores. I can't recommend them enough. I think self-publishing makes so much sense, especially for people who have memoirs where they've been told, like, nobody wants to read about endometriosis, or nobody wants to read about birth trauma. When you're sitting there like, okay, but I have 400 people in a group I see every Sunday. So self-publishing or hybrid or whatever, but especially self-publishing for people in the memoir division who have been told, we don't see a path to market, but you see it. This is the best thing you can do because you're already in communication with your perfect audience and you get to keep almost all the proceeds. Whereas when I look at my royalty statements, I'm like, this model makes no sense. I have published with micro presses. I did not quite a novella, more of a chapbook with a micro press out of Nebraska. I thought that was freaking rad. I loved it. They've gone under since. I keep meaning to I definitely have like a novella or something weird in my future. I've published with indies and I found that to be such a healing, beautiful, intimate, white glove kind of experience. You can't usually live off of the indie advances. So that is challenging. You need some kind of other stream of income. But what it feels like to be published by an indie is so amazing because generally, not always, but generally, they're giving you an advance that is low enough that whether or not you ever earn out, doesn't really matter. They're doing it for the art, which means that you get to go out and promote your book without feeling like, I don't know, this pressure, of earning back in advance. And then of course I've published, this will be my third book, with the big, the very big five, which is absolutely amazing too, because you have a shot through all these different channels and the visibility. You have a shot at the book breaking out, and generally you tend to be paid some amount of money that is real, that you can do something with. And if your book performs and you get another shot at publishing again, that is absolutely a way forward. That you're not getting health insurance. There's still a lot of financial problems, but one can, eke out a living. And obviously, especially today, that's an enormous privilege that I feel very lucky to be back in that lane, but you can't sleep on anything. You are working in a corporate environment at a corporate pace. I have a lot of friends right now who haven't seen me have a big 5 book out. And they're like, why is she losing hair in November? Her book is coming out in June. And I'm like, you guys you actually can't grasp. It's not interesting for me to describe it, but just trust me, I am on a treadmill. I wanted to be on the treadmill. I feel lucky to be on a treadmill, but I will be on this treadmill until the end of the fall of 2026. Say goodbye. My nice skin and healthy complexion, it's gone. It's leaving. So all of these ways are amazing, but also let us not forget the one woman show. I guess you could be something, not a woman, but I'm just going to say one woman show, plays, dance. There's so many ways to bring stories to life. You can do them in serial snippets through YouTube. It's just, if you think to one of the big breakout memoirs of recent years, I'm Glad My Mom Died, by Jeanette McCurdy. That started off as a one-woman show. Yes, she had a platform, known as an actress in her youth. But, she was off going into these seedy theaters and doing her one-woman show. And then someone said, let's make it a book. And I just think that we shouldn't right now be hyper focused on the book as an object and the whole agent, submission, editor, book deal, paper, because just in this economic environment with paper so expensive and ink is so expensive, it's just a bottom line thing that they're not going to be able to take as many risks. By they, I mean, people who have corporate overlords. Just from an economic standpoint, if they can't pay $10,000 for a book that sells 20 copies, right? So something's got to give. So either you're doing something hybrid or whatever, but people, we're fortunate that, if we were speaking in the 1970s and someone said hey, Courtney, nobody wants your memoir on the horror of a stillborn birth, right? Or some really difficult subject, that would be it. Your book is just not go. What are you going to do? Like staple it and put it in people's mailboxes? It wasn't done, right? But now, you know, I mean, you don't want to be an obnoxious person, but if someone says no, there's so many ways to say yes to yourself in some other format. And it might be involve giving up some ego, right? Maybe you're not going to get an agent. Maybe you're not going to get some hotshot book deal, but maybe you weren't built for those streets, you know? Maybe you need a meadow, and it's going to be a beautiful meadow with little bees.
That's so perfect. Tell us what is next for you. What the novel
next is my book, Alan Opts Out. Just yesterday, I was shown the cover. The cover that we finally landed on is so great. I think I get to reveal it near Thanksgiving. But so Alan Opts Out comes out June 2026. Inshallah, I hope, with Little Brown. And it is a story of a capitalist who tries to opt out completely of capitalism. And he moves into his daughter's playhouse in his backyard in Greenwich, Connecticut, a very fancy neighborhood. And all of this would have been well and fine, except his wife, who's a Midwestern transplant, has been trying to climb the social ladder in Greenwich, Connecticut. And she's finally hit her goal of being invited to possibly join the most exclusive private women's club. And they need everything perfect. Her house needs to be perfect. Her life needs to be perfect. And she's got this like proto-human in the backyard, like killing squirrels and trying to live off the land. So it's a very funny but heartfelt look at what the hell are we all doing? Like what's the real value here, right? Is it the grind set, or is it just like loving our neighbors, loving our adopted dogs, and you know, just enjoying our time on Earth. Yeah.
Can't wait to read it.
About it. Thank you.
Any bucket list writing goals?
Yeah, I do have some. I'd like at some point to self-publish another craft book. Mm-hmm. I want to do some erotica.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my greatest bucket list, which this is more of a life bucket list, is I want to go back actually to comparative literature. I ended up majoring in French. And at some point when my daughter's settled, I really want to do some intense Spanish language immersion and audit a comparative literature program in Mexico and really focus on Latin American literature in the vernacular. That's something I'm going to fully intend to do this. Yeah.
Amazing. What piece of writing advice do you wish you could give your former self?
Oh God, don't leave negative reviews of well-known authors' books.
Did you do that?
No. No, of course not. Nope.
What's one tip for writers trying to get a book published?
Have a therapist. Okay, keep writing on write something else. Fall in love with the next thing that you're working on. Have one person who's your bitch bucket who you can trust to just wail and rail about how difficult it is, but just one person. Do not do that in your Substack. Do not do that in a way that's discoverable. And however long you're prepared to let your heart wait, double it. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But, and then, you know, remember that if it's all no's from the gatekeepers, 100% you can find a way to still get your book out there.
That's such great advice. Thank you so much. What's your all-time favorite piece of your own writing?
Oh, I think it's a piece of writing. It's called A Catalog of Conversations I've Never Had with My Father. And it was born out of a frustration of like how to write about my relationship with my whole family's complicated, but my dad, and just couldn't get it right. And then one day I just sat down in frustration and wrote out a bullet list, and it ended up being a really impactful piece of writing, so much so that my family stopped speaking to me for 7 months. Goodness. You can't find it online because I was forced to take it down. But I think that represented for me, that was at the period of time where I was still doing a lot of like live storytelling. I hadn't been published yet. And I felt in the room when I read that, I felt that thing, that you hope to feel one day, where I had really connected and moved some people. And it was an impactful moment for me where I thought, okay, all my writing needs to do this. It needs to be funny. And then I need to gut punch people with something that's so real and so sad, and it's a goal I've set for myself and keep trying to meet in everything I write. So
yeah, you have been so generous with your time and your insights. How can people find the Substack, find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm there. You won't see me baking bread, but I'm what am I? CB Mom on Instagram. My Substack's before and after the book deal. We have a lot of fun. I'm very proud of our people. We just have, you're going to be safe. You're going to be safe in the comments. We have really nice group set up. And then I run this destination writing workshop called Turning Points. I refuse to change the name just because some right-wing mofo, I'm not changing my name because we actually do reach a turning point. So screw you, white supremacists. But it takes place in like an incredible ranch in New Mexico every fall, and applications for that will start in the new year. And it's an amazing program because we don't even look at writing samples. We look at ask big picture questions about the project and one's goals and stuff, but it's really based on people's ability to be accountable and work toward their goals, and what they'll be bringing to the table. It's kind of there's a lot of alchemy involved, but we've had a year where we had a New York Times bestseller. She had sold 500,000 copies of her book in the same room as someone who the book only existed in their head. And so it's an amazing program because there's just not that competitive feeling that you get at some programs where it's all writing sample based and everyone wants the same thing. So yeah, the applications will open soon. And on my website, CourtneyMaum.com, I have a lot of online classes for things like book proposal writing or why the hell can I not sell my memoir? All that stuff. So yeah, I'm very findable.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Bleeders. This one is a video episode, so you can listen to it on the podcast feed or you can watch it on YouTube. Just search The Bleeders Podcast. If you want to support the show and level up your own creative practice, check out my upcoming classes and workshops for writers and podcasters. I love helping writers up-level their craft and their career. And of course, my debut memoir, Girl Gone Wild, drops April 1st. Please pre-order your copy. It really helps. Rate, review, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, happy bleeding.